Good evening, folks. Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It is the post-match pint here at Malones in Glasgow. I've got Darren and Kenny with me to reflect on Celtic 4, Aberdeen 0. Darren, we'll start with you, mate. I thought that was a brilliant performance from start to finish. Maybe a wee lull in the second half, but some of the football today was scintillating, wasn't it?
Mate, going on the form we were getting before the game, the amount of goals that we've been scoring, travelling up today, I was fully expecting 4 or 5 or possibly even more. And then that first 10 minutes, Callum McGregor scores, and then Hatate scores again. You're thinking, it's going to be a cricket score here. Obviously, the game died down a bit. I think Aberdeen knew after that they were going to lose this game by something dangerous if they didn't just cancel the game and sit back. So I think that kind of happened. And, as you say, Paul, the game kind of slowed down a wee bit second half, but Rio Hatate obviously doing his thing, and that's that. I'm sure we'll talk about that third goal and just his all-round performance. He's blowing me away at the moment. He just keeps getting better and better. And I think we're probably going to struggle to keep him if he keeps playing the way he is. But I think we should just enjoy him for the time we've got the new, and just everything. Even a couple of subs coming on. I thought Haksabanovic done well to come on. He's not played a lot of game time. I know he had an injury just after the World Cup, so it's good for him to kind of get back into things. Leila Labada, it'll do him well to score. So, 4-0, I think I'm really happy with that ball. Obviously, it could have been more after 2-0, but, 4-0, again, we're outscoring the other team. We're keeping up this record of scoring more than 3 goals a game. Another clean sheet. I don't think we ever looked at scoring apart from, that mix-up with Starfelt and Hart in the second half. I don't think he had actually an actual save to make. So, I mean, we're just... as a Celtic fan, I don't want to get carried away because I'm not. I never do like to get carried away, but going to a Celtic game with just this confidence that we are just going to blow teams away every single week. The title, again, I don't like to get carried away and say the title's not in the bag, 9 points. We're not going to drop that. I don't think we'll probably... We might draw now and again. We can't predict the future, but... just keep playing about. It's good to go into that game next week against Rangers, winning like that. I think that will put players in a good mind frame, and hopefully all the best.
Aye, hopefully. Kenny, nice to get a Saturday 3 o'clock kick-off. Well, since we had one of them, as Darren's touched on there, a brilliant start to the game. McGregor reacting quickest to smash it in on the edge of the box, and then less than 10 minutes later, Hatate's got another one, and you think this could be any score. We had a lot of chances in that first half, but I thought the speed we came out the blocks at was frightening.
I mean, that first 2 minutes was Ange ball in its purest form. Fullbacks playing really high, playing inverted, loads of rotation. McGregor anchoring everything. Hatate, like an artist, really, just the way he's pulling the strings across that whole front line. And those 20-minute bursts are something that really won us the league last season. And they are only 20-minute bursts because they're human beings. They can't play like that for 90 minutes. But they've been less frequent this season, but it was great to see it back, and I think it's probably back because we're back to that into our rhythm of playing once a week. And Postecoglou was very vocal in his recent press conferences about how much detail we can put into the guys in training. So I can see us coming back to that fast 20-minute burst more frequently between now and the end of the season. I mean, getting into the second half, the only thing that sort of was a bit of a frustration was there was a sort of 25-30 minute spell where we were pretty passive. We were a bit clumsy. I thought Greg Taylor started to get a bit clumsy in possession. Joe Hart needs to calm down a bit. I mean, he is causing us problems. We can sit and smile about it now, but playing against higher level opposition, that's going to cost you goals. And as much as we were cruising, had we gone to 2-1, it would have been a bit uncomfortable. So, brilliant out, and Hatate is just elevating himself to a level now where you're thinking, you're trying to sort of compare him and think back, when was the last time we had someone of his technical ability in that position? And you're thinking back a long time to come up with someone. So, look, we're in a great place, and it was just nice to see that real burst of energy from the outset of the game.
Absolutely. Dan, I think we're going to spend a large chunk of this video talking about Rio Hatate, but he deserves it after that performance today. I thought the first goal was excellent. He takes the ball on his back foot, turns, gets in the box, there's a wee step over, gets himself half a yard, finishes it. He's just, his influence on this Celtic team's growing month after month. He just keeps getting better. And aside from the goals today, there was some sublime passes, and that's something we've seen from him throughout the season. But he is just getting better and better, isn't he?
Mate, I said to the guys last week after the St Mirren game, Rio Hatate never started that game, and I thought the first half was pretty sluggish. And there was a big noticeable difference when him and O'Reilly came on, but more noticeably, Rio Hatate obviously played half an hour and scored 2 goals that game, and another 2 goals for him a day. Like, it just, as you said, Paul, I think he just keeps getting better and better. Like, there was that point last season where he dipped, but because of his fatigue and stuff, we've spoke about that before. But this season, I think he's really in his element. I think he's adapting well to Scotland. I think that might have been a problem for all the Japanese players, maybe apart from Kyogo when they first came here, to get used to the way that we play. But I think even not just Hatate, but the other Japanese players, I think they're all sort of getting used to Celtic now. But as I just said to you about 5 minutes ago there, I think if he gets any better, Paul, I think some serious offers are going to start coming in for down south probably. And I think he's probably earned that right to play in a division like the English Premier League. It pains me to say it, but there are leagues out there that are better than Scotland. So I would love to keep him, but of course I think he's maybe still got to prove his Celtic Champions League level, and I think he might stick around at Celtic next season for that. But I hope he does. But obviously I don't have a crystal ball, so we can't say these things. But let's just enjoy him for this season, because he probably is. I mean, it's difficult to compare him to Callum McGregor, because Callum McGregor's a 6. I think Hatate's got a bit of everything for me. He chases back, he does everything. He can score, he can defend, he can run. He's got a bit of everything for me. So I think that's what bigger teams in Europe would look for. So I'm just loving him now, and hopefully we can keep him next season for the Champions League. But let's just enjoy him where we can.
I mean, he must be a joy for Postecoglou to work with. Look at the way he prepares for the game. I mean, you look at him, he isolates himself from the huddle. He prepares in a very unique way, but he's such a consummate professional. When does he ever pick the ball up and dump a square ball because he's run out of ideas? Never. He wraps the ball into the striker. He's constantly thinking. He's not the fastest, although he's got quick feet, but his brain is unbelievable and his technique is incredible. Look at the goals he's scoring. That wrap finish against St Mirren last week, those 2 goals today, they're not easy finishes. No. But his mind is ahead of everyone else in the park, and he's a level above Scottish football. There's no doubt about that. So Darren's right. Will we keep him? Well, we've got him on a 3.5 year contract. He doesn't look like he's going to be the type of person that jumps ship. I think we'll get another year out of him, and then we'll probably need to start thinking about what sort of cash we're going to get if he doesn't extend. But he's the linchpin. I'm glad he went off after 75 minutes. Get him in cotton wool and see what he does at Hampden on Sunday, because he could win that game on his own.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned his sort of pre-match ritual there, because that's something that stands out to me, and I think Maeda and Kyogo have it as well. And I know that Postecoglou is always wary of people like throwing a blanket over the Japanese players and saying that they're all the same, but it's the approach and their application. It's like relentless. Their attitude is relentless, and it's almost like they treat it like a craft. And that wee ritual that he does before the game is different. You don't really see like players doing that sort of thing. And Martin talks about all the time how he watches him during the warm down, and his professionalism, his fitness levels, which he's improved this season. And another thing is, if you only go back a few months before the World Cup, people were probably talking about his numbers, his creative output, his assists, his goals, and he's adding those now. But not everything in football can be measured by numbers, and I get so much joy for watching him week in and week out. And
I wouldn't disturb any of those sort of unique characteristics, because it's unusual. If someone goes down, an opponent goes down injured, Kyogo will go over and see if they're okay, right? Hatate will feel that way inclined as well. That's just part of their culture. And you might stand back and think, well, stamp that out. They're coming to Scotland. Don't stamp that out. Keep their standards, because they've got enormous standards as people and as professional athletes, and we're benefiting from that. So I wouldn't disturb any of his. I think all his pre-match ritual stuff is superb. Postecoglou just after the game said that he himself isn't the player that he believes he can be so far, and every day in training he's trying to improve himself. So he's trying to elevate himself. He's just turned 25. You're not talking about somebody who's in the prime of their career yet. He's going to be a frightening player when he's 27, 28 years old. He might not be in a Celtic jersey at that point, but by that point, hopefully he's helped us bag in our couple of titles, and we've got a lot of money in the bank for him. He cost us £1 million or something. It's just an outrageous piece of recruitment. Yeah. So, yeah, brilliant.
Aye, bargain in the century, that. Darren, I think a lot of our play came centrally today, which is maybe a wee bit unlike us. The threat in the wide areas is so potent week in and week out, and we always play that ball. We love it in between the centre half and the full back. Tail it to Maeda, happens all the time. There was one of them today as well, but I thought we were so dangerous through the middle today. And if you look at last week, O'Reilly gets his first goal of the season. Hatate gets those 2 goals. That threat from midfield is getting better and better. And when you think about the front area of the pitch, where we've got Kyogo, who's the top goal scorer, already in 20 plus goals. Jota and Maeda can contribute. The wide players off the bench have got goals in them. All of a sudden, everybody in the team carries a goal threat.
Well, we're blessed with the amount of numbers we have in midfield. I was worried today when I seen that both Moy and Turnbull weren't available. Obviously, Moy's just been rested apparently. Turnbull might be injured. But, I called this in the group chat before the game, that says that McGregor would push up one and Iwata would come on 60 minutes. And you know, that's just the kind of thing. Like O'Reilly came in the day. I said it last week. Got his first goal of the season. That might help him. That's one thing that's been lacking. But his performance. I mean, they said that it was out of form. I don't think he was out of form. But the form Aaron Moy obviously put him out the team. It might have affected his confidence a wee bit. But the manager says this is that when players aren't playing, then they take their opportunities when they do come on, and that's fine with me. So I think form goes out the window when the managers pick his team sometimes. I think he picks and chooses, not just out of blue, but maybe what he sees in training that week. As he says, Aaron Moy, he could play put in a 10 out of 10 and O'Reilly would come in and start for him next week. And we're still going to get results anyway. It's not as if Aaron Moy's not going to be in a team and we're going to say, oh, he's a vital player, we're going to drop points. That's just not happened at all this season. Everybody that comes in is doing a job, and if you don't absolutely blow people's brains away with your performance, then you'll probably find yourself sitting out the next week. And that, as fans, you know, we can't really grumble with that. And I think even just, you mentioned there, the attackers as well. I thought Jota and Maeda were quiet today. Very unlike him, but, you know, as footballers, they're going to have these kind of days. Maeda's been on fire recently. I thought Maeda he get outnumbered a bit on the wide channels there. As you said, a lot of it was through the middle. Maeda tends to hug that touchline and try and beat the defender. It just never happened for him today, but, you know, that's fine. We can accept that. Haksabanovic comes on. He plays a little bit more central than Maeda, and as I said earlier, he made a bit of an impact. He won the ball back off that fullback late on, cut inside, put a great ball in for Abada and get a goal. So we have just got so many options in every single position, and that's why we're winning by 3-4 goals every single game, because if you're sitting playing the same starting 11 every single time, you know, players can adopt that mindset of, oh, no matter how, if I don't have a good game, sorry, I'll still be in the team next week, and it kind of subconsciously gets them to not perform as well as they should. But now they know, if I don't perform to the best that I can play, I'll probably be dropped out for the next game. So it keeps the players on their toes every single week, and that's why we're winning 4-5-0 every single week.
Kenny, that's, of all Ange Postecoglou's qualities, that's one that we maybe don't talk about enough, because he's got this squad with so much depth and so much quality in it. But as Darren says there, it doesn't matter who comes in, they come in and perform. And we don't have too many sulkers. The guys that aren't getting minutes, you don't really see bad attitudes, whether they're just getting minutes off the bench or they're getting rare starts, like Turnbull springs to mind with that. Haksabanovic, who did have a wee injury, has been on the periphery but still coming in and performing. I think the only real example of someone sulking is Giacomakis, and he's no longer here, so whether that was a contract dispute in the background that started that or not. But the management of the squad, in order to make sure everybody performs, and he's talked before about keeping distance from the players, so that when he makes these decisions, there's no sort of impact on them, because they think they've got a closer relationship with him than others, and that's bearing fruit for us, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, his man management is clearly one of his strengths, but it doesn't just start with him. I think the board have got to take some credit, because he's not got a magic wand. He's not going to be able to keep players on the bench. He's not going to always be able to keep them happy. He couldn't keep Juranovic happy. Juranovic wasn't on the bench, but he obviously wanted to move on. He couldn't keep Giacomakis happy. But what did they do? They didn't just wait until that became a situation that harmed us. They recruited well in advance so that there was a seamless transition when those players do move on. I think we are going to... I mean, Haksabanovic has got so much class. Look at when he came on there. His feints, his low centre of gravity, he's a real quality player, Haksabanovic. There will be a limit to how much he's prepared to have little cameos. It's great for now, because we've got an incredible squad, and you're right, it seems disproportionate how happy these people are, how little game time they're getting. But as long as, I think the club have got to keep, their level of recruitment is so high at the moment. It's the highest I've ever seen it at the club. I've watched Celtic a long time. I've never seen the recruitment at this level of success and this level of forward thinking. And that's just as combative a tool against people getting stale as anything else. So I don't really have you're right, everyone that comes on looks hungry. It puts pressure on the people that are starting games. And the whole thing is really, really healthy. They've just got to keep that level up in terms of keeping everyone sort of hungry, but we're in a great place in terms of the squad. We've got someone in behind almost every single player that's only a fraction beneath them, and that's not easy to achieve.
No, it's not, and we've seen it many times before where that hasn't been the case. Darren, 26 games played, 82 goals scored, on track for well over 100 goals. And we've touched on the squad there and the goal threat from all over the pitch, but as you say, coming to watch that Celtic team, you're guaranteed goals.
Yeah, so 82 goals in 26 games. What's that? 12 games left. No, I don't know off the top of my head what our record is. I'm pretty sure we'd have to maybe go further back. Maybe
106, I think it is.
106. What's that? About 24 goals. I reckon we can top that easily, because that's to a game you're saying. So we're fast on track to beating that. And listen, I think teams now that come to Celtic Park, they know that, and they don't want to be a statistic. They don't want to be that page on the newspaper where they're being humiliated. And I think I always look back to that 9-0 game that cost Jack Ross's job. Teams don't want that. Managers don't want that. So they kind of they go to Celtic Park. Maybe not so different away games. Maybe they don't want to sit back and defend like in front of their own fans. But I think when they come to Celtic Park, even David Martindale said it a couple of weeks ago. He knows they're probably going to get beat, but they just want to keep the scoreboard down. But they can't do it because we're just so relentless. Basically, you have our four defenders who pretty much play on the halfway line, and we move up to the midfield. We try and break these teams down. It eventually is going to happen because they've got no outball, and we're just that ferocious that we're going to break the teams down. So I think we're fast on track to probably breaking a record, as you said, 106. I think we're going to break it.
Kenny, it's a variety as well of attacking play. It's so unpredictable, and that must make it a nightmare for opposition teams, particularly coming to Celtic Park. It's just so difficult to play against because you never know where the threat's coming from.
No, you don't. And it's probably a good time to talk about Cho, right? I mean, he was a bit of a surprise selection today, I thought. But it's a good vote of confidence for him that a 21-year-old guy comes into that. These are must-win games for Celtic at the business end of the season. It's not, we're not just throwing people in willy-nilly here. Yeah. So I thought it was a good vote of confidence for him that he started the game. I mean, he didn't score. He looked really disconsolate when he went off the side of the park. I felt bad for him. You could see he was really desperate to score. I think there's enough ingredients there. We need to remember that he's 21 years old. It takes time for people to settle. Giacomakis didn't. Giacomakis' contribution to Celtic played a meaningful part in us winning the league last season. He had a lot of poor outings before he got up to speed. Yeah. Edward, 19 years old, came into Celtic. He had a lot of rough outings before he got up to speed. This is a young guy that's come from the other side of the world. So I think we need a little bit of patience with him. But I think there's enough there to suggest to me that he could be an asset for Celtic. Strong. I was hoping today to see a bit more of a burst of pace for him in behind. Like it was a little bit flat. It was a lot. Kyogo must have been sitting in the stands today thinking, I'll have a field day in that first half, because how many balls were blazed across goal that would have been trademark Kyogo finishes, and he wasn't quite on the end of it. But he's a strong guy with, I think, an eye for goal in the respect that I think he's a confident player. I don't think he's coming here and he's balking away from the fact that he's playing in front of 60,000 people for the first time. So I think I'm quite excited about Cho, but he probably just needs to keep his head up apart in the respect he didn't get a goal today.
Dan Young, it was obviously the right decision. We've won 4-0 and Kyogo wasn't necessarily risked, but do you think that was maybe in the back of the manager's mind, protecting him for next week?
Probably. As it says, we don't know what Kyogo's injury was. It obviously looked like shoulder. I mean, I've always been under the impression if you're fit to make a bench, you're probably fit to start a game, because you can always just come off at half time if you're tired or whatever, you're feeling uncomfortable. But as you say, it's the right choice. I think Kyogo's started pretty much 90% of our games in the league this season. He might be tired. I doubt it with the level of fitness I see from him every week. Kyogo had these tendencies last season to chase down lost causes. He's a lot more intelligent with that now, saving his energy. So that's probably why he starts a vast majority of games now. But coming in, I think he needed a start because he's been a bit part player since, not a bit part player, a bit harsh. He's been making his appearance for the bench. Obviously got his first goal last weekend, which will do him well. To not score today, I don't think he'll be too hurt about it. As I think I said to someone earlier, it might be harder for a striker to score today because after we went 2-0 up, it became pretty much 10 red shirts in the penalty area. So, we're kind of maybe plucking hairs here talking about who started the game today because, as you say, we won the game comfortably. So I don't want to get too worked up about it. I think Kyogo will obviously start the final. Big, massive game for us. And played 10 minutes a day, so he should be fresh and fit for it.
Kenny, next week, Hampden, League Cup final. We couldn't be in better form, but there's always a sense of trepidation ahead of these games, isn't there?
I think we'll come out the traps like we did today. I just think it's a certainty because they're going to be so up for it. And when they come out the traps like they did today, Rangers can't cope with that. That's not being arrogant, it's just a reality, right? We've got to capitalise on that though. If we come out the traps and blitz them for 20-25 minutes like I expect us to, if they've held on to their position at that point, it becomes more of a becomes more of a competitive match. I'd like us to capitalise when we come out the traps early. We can't afford that sloppy 20 minutes. We can't have Joe Hart hitting the ball into their midfield and expecting to get away with it. Hart's got to up his ante a little bit in terms of his footwork, and maybe that's a bit difficult at his, at his point in his career. But his concentration levels have gone a little bit awry, in the last sort of 3 or 4 games. So I think capitalising when we're on top, just being a bit tidier in possession at the back and being a bit more composed, and I can see us coming out winners. But anything can happen in these types of games. You're only a red card away, some freak instant, from the game being taken away from you. But it's just a massive game for us, isn't it? If we're we deserve a treble. You can't help but watch our performance in that match today and think that we deserve a treble. You can't take the level that they're playing at. You can't take that for granted. It would feel unjust if we only win one trophy this season. It would be great if we win the league. I think we will win the league. But there's more to this side. Deserve more, and it starts next week. Massive game, but we're getting in brilliant form.
Absolutely, Darren. We always say about these games that midfield's a key battleground, and as we've talked about throughout this video, our midfield is in great form.
Well, it is, and especially I think against Rangers, because in the past I think they've tried to bully us physically, and maybe you could say in the Scottish Cup semi-final last year it did work. But the main thing is, I think, so as you say, we're going in there in the best of form in the midfield. Whether he starts, obviously McGregor and Hatate are 100% going to start. The big decision he's going to have is O'Reilly or Aaron Moy. Me personally, I have to have Aaron Moy, but I think, as I say to you, it doesn't really matter. I think O'Reilly could come in there. Maybe not David Turnbull. I think David Turnbull's a bit on the periphery. But I think O'Reilly or Aaron Moy, both of them are more than capable and definitely better than the Rangers midfield. Again, Kenny, you said that it's not arrogance, it's fact. I think we are better midfield, better up front, better defence than Rangers. But the only thing is in a cup final that you turn up, you need to turn up, you can't be phased by occasion, and you need to put in 100% effort. I believe if Celtic do that, then the football will show, and I think we'll win the game.
That is a big call for the manager, Kenny. Moy obviously sits out today, not even on the bench. He had a positive impact at Ibrox when we were really struggling in that period of the game. He came on and influenced it positively, involved in the build-up to the equaliser. Who'd you go with next week?
I would go with Moy, without doubt. I mean, Moy's, because he's an old head, he's calm. He will not be phased one moment by the fact that he's in a cauldron of an atmosphere. He's played in bigger games than that 3 months ago in the World Cup, and he shone. And I think he brings more identity to our midfield, because you've got McGregor sitting deep. He sort of patrols that sort of central area between Hatate and McGregor, and I think he does offer it brings a better level of consistency across that midfield. O'Reilly is I feel a bit hard on Matt, because I thought at the start of the season he would flourish into one of our best players, and he's been a bit marginalised because of the form of Moy. Has he shown enough in his recent outings to say he takes Moy out of the team? I don't think he has. He's done okay. I thought he was quite good in that first sort of 20 minutes today. But for me, I definitely would start Moy. The quality of his passing in behind the fullback, balls into the strikers, he's out. How much have we got out of that? And goal output has been down to that in the last 2 or 3 months. We can't ignore that. I just hope he's fit, and I would definitely start Moy. I think the rest of the team picks itself. You could maybe say, well, would Abada come in for Maeda? I don't even think that's much of a debate. I think the rest of the side picks itself, and I'd have Moy in there. And if he's up to it, and I think he would be, I can see us dominating the middle of the park.
Let's hope so. Darren, we'd usually finish by talking about man of the match, but we've eulogised enough about Hatate. Any other standout performers for you today?
I've said this to you over the past few weeks, Paul. I think the whole team again is a 7.5 or above. Maybe exceptions are Joe Hart, as to Kenny's gave Joe Hart enough stick for the night. But I think it's just that overall performance where if the team put in a 7.5, there's always going to be 110. There's always going to be 110. Today it was obviously Rio Hatate. Maybe a close shout for Callum McGregor. I mean, I thought it was he linked the defence to the midfield well, but we've covered enough on Hatate, so I'm going to leave it to you, mate. It's 100% Rio.
Yeah, I mean, it is obviously Hatate. I would say McGregor, particularly in that first half hour, he was so. They had little pockets of possession, Aberdeen, and behind their own striker. McGregor just mopped everything up. And McGregor has sacrificed his own goal output for the club because he's sat so deep. McGregor's more than capable of scoring. It was great when he got that first goal, because when it dropped to him, look at his technique. How many goals like that has he scored for Celtic when he's been playing in a more offensive position? He's not lost that. No. So I would say McGregor. just based on the fact that it was just a really nice return to his real top level form, at least in the first half. Who are you going for, Kyogo?
Well, I'll tell you what. See that boy that scored up to Kyogo? He nearly had 60,000 people on the pitch against him, didn't he? What was that about?
You feel like a protective parent when Kyogo gets sort of squared up, don't you?
I know. No, I can't go for Kyogo today. I thought McGregor in that early period of the game was really important for us, as you say. Not just the goal. He did the dirty work when it needed to be done in midfield as well, and I think that's something that Callum McGregor's really developed since, obviously, he played more advanced earlier in his career. But as he's got deeper and deeper, he's got much better at that side of the game. McGregor.
I think just Johnson at right back, I think deserves a bit of credit. I mean, we've not spoken about him a lot on the channel recently.
Yeah.
Difficult for him to come in. He's come in like he's been here for years.
It's almost been seamless, hasn't it?
Yeah, and he's so fast. He's so deceptively quick. If he's challenged, Duke's a quick player, and he was running at him. And he was matched him pace for pace the whole time. He's totally snuffed him out. He's been a great piece of recruitment.
Do you know the thing I love about Johnston? He loves the physical side of the game.
I seen that
he'll
the
relish
incident
that
he
next
had
week.
at the Aberdeen dugout.
Yeah.
I liked that.
He can maybe add a bit more finesse to his offensive output, but it is there. It's
I
definitely
think he's a
there.
bit hesitant to take a cross sometimes, but I think the more he trains with the team, I think that'll come.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like a great player. There you go. That's it for post-match pint. Like this video, comment with your own thoughts on today's game below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you during the week for the build-up to the cup final next weekend. Thank you.